Welcome to the Deadlifts and Pizza podcast, where we discuss no BS fitness and nutrition.
We're your hosts. I'm Laura.
And I'm Jamie.
Let's get into it.
How's your Wednesday going?
Pretty good.
Did you work out this morning?
I did.
Good. I'm taking off today, and I'm very excited about it because we've had a lot of plans that have caused us to do like 4 workouts in a row. And today we just have we have a very regular week. So I'm like, I can actually take my rest day on Wednesday. So I'm not working out today. I'm still wearing fitness clothes because I don't know how else to dress. But, well, I did jog this morning.
Okay.
Yeah.
Today was a lighter day for me because normally Monday, Wednesday, Friday, if I'm doing upper body, or if I'm doing full body, but Wayne wanted to work out Tuesdays and Thursdays. So I switched so I'm going to do it one on Saturday.
Okay. How's he doing?
Yeah. Good. Yeah. He's getting stronger.
Yeah?
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Because I'm like, oh, you're stronger than me at bench now. You should be.
Yeah. This is normal. You should be stronger than your 5'1" wife. Yeah. 120 pounds. That's awesome. I'm really glad to hear that. I'm sure you're on him, on his form and all of that stuff too.
Oh yeah. His form isn't that bad. I didn't have him do, I did barbell squats. I had him do Bulgarian split squats instead because it's just too hard with the bar there. And then the amount of weight I do, I mean, he's never done it before. So if I was doing 160 pounds, I don't think it's a good place to start.
Well, you don't my husband and I are always racking and re-racking in between. We'll each go to one end of the bar, take off the weights, put on the other ones. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To exchange the weight. We'll usually put mine on first, and then he'll throw plates on top of mine, so we don't have to take my weight off.
Yeah, but then the weight, how low it is because of how much shorter I am.
Right. Yeah.
He's 6'4".
Oh yeah, that's a big difference. So, right.
Yeah, we're a weird couple. Yeah,
that's cool. That's cool. Yeah. You know what my husband can't do? It's interesting.
You're telling me the kettlebell one.
Yeah. Did I say that on the podcast already?
You did.
Or did I say that? Oh yeah, he cannot do a windmill holding that overhead.
Yeah.
Yeah. We were doing it last night or yesterday, and he just he's really struggling with that. And I was trying to figure out what is that. What does he need in terms of mobility to be able to do that?
It might be a thoracic mobility.
Yeah, because he has shoulder mobility, but you know what he's saying is when he's holding one hand up in the air with the weight, he feels it cramping in the opposite arm.
Okay.
Which is very odd to me. In his tricep, rear delt, that whole area.
Yeah. Might be a thoracic mobility thing.
Yeah. So I guess some work to do with that.
Yeah.
Figure that out. Anyway.
Speaking of workouts, I was thinking about this. Sometimes I'll do things and I'll think about them and I want to say them to you, but then I was like, no, I'll wait to save them for the podcast. So it's not a big topic or anything. But have you ever done assisted jumps, with a band, band assisted jumps? So you tie a band.
Like it's pulling you up?
Yes.
Like gravity.
It is so much fun.
I've done them not for fitness reasons. I've done it just for fun, or what my kids used to do when they were smaller. They could do this. When I had the band, the pull-up band hanging, they would loop their arms in them and they would jump like that.
Yeah, it's those things in the doorways that little babies would jump a route. I don't know if they were.
They even have exercise classes. Have you seen those where they have bungees hanging from the ceiling and you clip in? Have you seen? They're literal exercise classes.
I think you might have sent me those before.
You zoom forward.
Yeah, I've seen those. I'm telling you, it's so much fun. I'm wee.
You're actually doing them in your workout?
Yeah.
You made it sound like band assisted jumps. I'm yeah, I've done those. What are you doing them for?
Well, because it works your speed and explosiveness. It requires, because it's just like anything else, by lowering the weight, you're able to go faster, right? So I'm able to get higher and jump faster. So it works on speed and power a little bit. And it's really good. It's a good primer before your deadlifts or squats or something like that.
How are you setting up for that?
Sorry. I put it right on my pull-up bar.
Like a band, and where do you wrap it? Around your chest?
I hold on to
your
it.
Arms? Oh, okay.
Just hold on to it. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So you hold on to it. You kind of squat a little bit and you jump up. Like, and my head is like almost touching the freaking
Yeah.
pole.
Oh my God, I can imagine you doing those. That's so
Yeah.
funny.
Yeah, they're
That's
fun.
awesome. That sounds fun.
It's a fun exercise to add in for people at home. If you're bored, try those out.
There you
I
go.
had my client do the other day. I'm like, watch, this is fun. It's so funny though, because I'm like, this would actually probably be good for her because she doesn't, she's older. She doesn't jump a lot, like less resist, like, it's a slower fall to the ground. Right. And it's so funny because she still got like this, couple inches off the ground.
You're probably
Like,
like your jump height is already so high. I'm surprised you even like didn't go through the ceiling when you got
I know,
banned to it.
I'm
Like,
like my head's up to the or to the pull-up bar.
that's
Yeah,
so. You got to send me a video of that. That's like
I
cracking me up
should.
just thinking about it. Yeah. All right. So what else is up? What you got
I wanted
today?
to visit Laura's correction corner,
Oh, of course.
but it's not even a correction. It's more of a like an add-on or extension. Should
Hmm.
have a new place, Laura's extension corner.
Laura's extension corner.
Laura's extension.
Expansion. Expansion.
Expansion. That's even a better word because extension doesn't sound good. Let's do expansion. Laura's expansion corner.
Extension sounds like you're just going to keep talking about it, even if there's nothing more to say. You're just going to
Mm,
extend it for no reason.
yeah.
Expanding feels like we're
Expanding
expanding the
on it is
depth of it.
exactly what I'm
Yeah.
doing. Yes,
All right. I
that's what
wonder
I'm
what we're
doing.
expanding on today.
Okay, it's actually the third time we talked about this now, but we were talking about the heavy metals in protein powders and all of
Oh, yeah.
that.
Mm-hmm.
And the one thing I forgot to mention, and I thought about it, of course, at the end, because that's what I do. Like, if you ever go in conversations, you're like, man, I should have said this thing. I had this thought, and I never, yeah, whatever.
Yep. All the
So,
time.
the other thing I wanted to mention though is like, because we talked about how there is heavy metals in soil, so you're going to get heavy metals when you eat vegetables and things. And in some cases, like you were saying, there's like more in the carrot than there is in the protein powders. But it's still not like an apples to apples comparison.
Mm-hmm.
So this is what people do that are, like those people that walk through the grocery store and point out all the food that you're not supposed to eat. And they'll take like one compound in it and be like, this food is awful because it has this thing in it, but it's not
Mm-hmm.
really looking at the entire picture of what's going on. And the thing about vegetables is that they have all of these other protective nutrients in them so that when you eat so if there's heavy metals in them, you're actually going to absorb a lot less of the heavy metals than say you would in that protein powder because of all of
Mm.
the other things that's in it. So it's not really like a very good comparison. Like it's not apples to apples. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So like heavy metals, or I mean, vegetables have things like fiber in them that can actually bind to the heavy metals so that you
Mm.
don't absorb them. They have antioxidants, all of the same thing, do the same thing. There's like chlorophyll. We have talked about sulfur before. There's sulfur in them. Even like minerals. So certain minerals compete for the same like pathways. So you're going to get less of it because of that. So there's all
Mm-hmm.
these things in the vegetables that are going to limit the absorption of the heavy metals in the same thing.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's a good point that I hadn't even thought about.
Mm-hmm.
It's again like the protective properties of just whole
Yeah.
foods and eating more whole foods.
Yeah. And I know I've talked about on the podcast before selenium and
Mm-hmm.
mercury, right? So when you eat fish, there's always people talk about all the mercury in fish. Well, fish is also very high, most fish, in selenium. And selenium will bind to the mercury so that it doesn't get absorbed in, certain places and it's easier to excrete out of your body. So it's going to limit the absorption of the mercury, but so the goal would be to have fish that is higher in selenium, lower in mercury. Like you still don't want to be eating shark every day, but yeah, it's not as
Well, you know me,
harmful
I eat
as it
shark daily.
harmful
I
as it may seem.
see that's what I would like to see. I would like to see like cuz we see like how many micrograms of lead are in, food. You can like test those things or how many, how much mercury is in fish. You can test those things. But I actually don't want to know how much mercury is in fish. I want to know how much mercury is detected in the human that eats the fish.
Yeah.
Like I would like to see that.
Definitely.
Because that's a really good point.
And it depends on each person. So like if that fish has a lot of selenium in it, that's already going to help like limit the absorption, right? The other thing though, like if you don't have a lot of selenium in your body in general, you're going to have more of it in you. So like the negative of the mercury is that it depletes you of selenium. So if you have too much mercury, it's going to lower your all like a bunch of yeah. So that's really the negative of it.
Interesting. Gosh,
Yeah.
there's so many, there's so much to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not just black and white.
No.
That's interesting.
So but the thing is, if you eat mostly whole foods, like all of these things you don't have to worry about. You're like, I'm
Right.
doing the right thing. I don't have to worry about all these little stupid
It all kind
details.
of naturally takes care of
It's going
itself.
to take care of itself.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, but then you see things. I think that's where it gets confusing for people too, though, because you see things that then demonize whole foods. Like, oh, we really shouldn't be eating fish more than, this many times a week. But
Yeah.
also, you should be eating it 3 times a week because omega 3s. And like, we're constantly hearing these like different things.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. What are you guys doing for Halloween?
We're going to go trick or treating.
Just regular
Yeah, just
chill?
regular. I love Halloween. Do you like Halloween?
Don't mind it. I don't like love it. I also don't mind it. I like
Yeah.
it when it's on a Friday.
That is nice, right? I I don't know. I think now that the kids are a little older, I love how I mean I've always loved Halloween, but I've never dressed. I'm not like a dress up. Like I don't dress up very often or anything like that. It's just like I love scary movies. I love this. I love the
Mm-hmm.
weather this time of year. I love just this time of year in general. And last year was, I think, the first year where we had a really successful trick or treating trip
Mm.
because she wasn't freaking out. She figured out, like, oh, when I go to people, because at first we took her to the first house, she was like,
Why are you taking
can't
me
like
here?
what are
What's
you doing,
happening?
and she like freaked out, and then they gave her candy and she's like okay, and then we went to the next one and she saw the same thing and she's like okay,
This is
I'm
cool.
all,
I
I'm
can get
for
behind
this.
this.
Yeah. And Caleb had his big, do you remember the big
The dinosaur.
blow up? Yeah, it was like a blow up dinosaur thing. Everybody was laughing at him and giving him so much attention, which he loved. Like, and there's a bunch of people that come to our neighborhood because it's a good neighborhood for trick or treating. So everyone was just like laughing at him as he's running around, which he loved, of course. He wanted to actually keep that same costume this year, which we knew once we went to the costume store, he was going to want something else, which he got something else. But he got something similar. So it's another blow up one, but it's an alien and his head like goes through it. So it looks like the
Oh,
alien's holding him.
I've seen those ones.
Yeah.
Those ones are fun. It looks like the alien's holding the kid. And I've seen some
Yeah.
reels where the kids get really into like holding onto the wall and screaming like the alien is like dragging them away.
Yeah.
And that's pretty funny. That's what you went
Sorry.
to a costume store?
Oh, yeah.
Like Spirit Halloween?
Yep, exactly.
It's just funny because it's like went to the costume store. I was like, what do you mean? You didn't go to Amazon? Like, or
No, we always go to the costume store. Yeah,
that's
they
cool.
pop up here every year. And
What's Juliana gonna be?
so for her, we just try to find, because she doesn't care, right?
Yeah.
So we just try to find something that is warm. So we got, she's going to be a holy cow. So it's like a onesie that's like looks like a cow, and then it's got like a crown, like a halo,
A halo.
or something. Halo.
Crown.
I was gonna say crown. Halo.
That's cool.
But she probably won't wear the halos. She's probably just going to be a cow with wings.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah.
You know what? I think my favorite holiday is probably Thanksgiving
Okay.
because it centers around food.
Uh-huh.
And like I guess Halloween does too, but I'm just not a huge like I'm more savory than sweet. Like I can eat some candy, don't get me wrong, but like I'm really love like getting down with like having a holiday where it's completely surrounded around like savory, delicious foods.
Yeah.
And then the thing that I love the most about Thanksgiving, which I absolutely really do not like Christmas, is this pressure to spend money. Thanksgiving is not a gift giving holiday.
Yeah.
I get so like, I don't want to say so stressed because that's like the wrong word. I just really don't look forward to Christmas.
I know what you
don't
mean.
like Christmas.
Yeah.
No.
Thanksgiving is like the Christmas without the gifts. It's very
Yeah.
similar. Yeah.
And it's And the thing that bothers me too is like I can almost get behind too like a nice Christmas morning. I think that's what I get excited about is a nice Christmas morning and my kids opening gifts in a tree. Like I do once December 1st hits, I can be like, okay, I'm gonna enjoy this. But as soon as it's December 26th, done. Get this tree out of my face. I don't want to think about this anymore. I don't want it around. But like watching my kids open gifts, okay, spend a couple hundred whatever dollars it is to get your kids gifts and fun, fine. But there's this pressure to buy everybody something. And then
I
there's
know.
always the question of like, are they going to get me a gift? Or are we gift giving people? Like, is this like, and I
Yeah.
hate it, man. And then it's like, oh, well, should we do this little thing to pass out at the office or do we need to send Christmas cards? And I hate all of it.
It's pressure.
It's a lot of pressure.
It's pressure and yeah. We one of the things we used to hate about Christmas, which isn't a problem anymore, is there were so many houses that we needed to go to, like so many people that we needed to see. So it would be like my grandmother, Wayne's family, they would have something, and then his sister's house, we'd go there, and then my mom and my dad. It was like all these places to go because they would all have separate things, and we would be invited to all of them. And eventually we're like, we're not doing that anymore. More, it's just too stressful. So, and the same thing, you have to give all those people gifts and things. And at that time, we didn't have a lot of money. It was just very hard. Now we just so we go to my mom's on Christmas Eve, and then we go to his sister's after my mom's, and then on Christmas Day we hang out at home for the morning, then go to my dad's and go home, and we're done. So it's not as bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't like that feeling when somebody hands you a gift and you didn't get them one because you didn't
I
think they were going to
know. It
get you
doesn't actually
one.
make you feel good. It makes you feel
It makes me feel worse. And then I
yeah.
also really, what else I really hate that really bothers me? I don't want things that I don't want. I don't want
I know,
things.
because then you feel guilty for throwing it away or like returning it or whatever. But yeah.
I am, anybody listening that knows me and loves me, I'm very sorry. But when we get a card, I look at it, I read it, I smile, I say, oh, look, babe. And then it immediately goes in the trash.
Yeah.
I don't hang it on the fridge anymore. I don't pretend
No.
like I'm going to keep. No, it immediately goes in the trash. I don't care how much that card was. Goodbye. You don't live in my life. And same with gifts. If you give us something and I don't want it or have no use for it, immediately in my Goodwill box. Immediately. It's gone because I don't want stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan. Not a
Yeah.
huge fan.
We
But
do
anyway, got to do it.
we do whatever it's called. I don't know the name of it, but the grab bag where you um
Almost like a white elephant.
white elephant. There you go. Yeah, we do
Oh,
that at
okay.
my mom's. So we only have to bring two. We will a gift for each of us,
That's fun.
and so it's usually just Wayne and I who do it because Caleb's not going to really want any of the gifts that are in there. But
Well, I've got 6
that's
nieces
fine.
and nephews, so it's like,
Yeah, that's fine because then I don't have to, get something specific for that person. It's less pressure of like, oh, is
yeah.
this person going to like this? And honestly, we usually bring the best gifts out of
Oh,
everybody
really?
because we'll get like a big like we'll bring a big box of steak and meat and
Oh,
things like that.
dang.
Yeah, and so people love that. And then usually another one will be something fun. I don't know, but usually ours are the best ones that people want because we put time and thought into like, okay,
That's a
people would
really
like
great
this.
idea. I did that for my dad
Yeah.
once. I was like, that's a really good gift, like a
Yeah.
food. It was like one of those boxes from somewhere with like steaks and salmon in it. And that's a good
Yeah.
gift.
We have a limit usually of how much money you can spend. It's so funny because the first time we ever did this, there was a lot of stuff in there. Then the last time there wasn't as much stuff in there,
Oh,
because meat is so expensive now.
yeah. Yeah, definitely.
But
You know
yeah.
what people is it's just thinking of relating this back to like fitness and nutrition. It's funny because you think about, I was going to make a joke of like, well, how do you limit yourself on Thanksgiving? Or like, what do you do like to limit yourself in your nutrition?
I
And
don't.
exactly. But I had the thought that I think most people don't. I don't think most people worry about the Thanksgiving meal or the
I used
Christmas
to.
meal. Did you?
Uh-huh.
Well, I was going to say, I feel like most people get that, like, yeah, it's Thanksgiving. I'm not going to make that big of a deal about it. But I
Yeah.
feel like the issue is that there's so many back to back holidays that it's basically like you've got candy floating around up until Thanksgiving, and then you have Thanksgiving leftovers, and then you've got Christmas parties and people dropping off cookies, and everybody wants to bake things. It's all the in betweens that make
Mm-hmm.
it so hard to then just like really enjoy the meals on the day, because everybody's like, oh, it's only one day. Well, yeah, but it's all the in between stuff that comes with the holidays.
It is. It is definitely. I used to though. Like I used to not limit myself, but I mean, a little bit, yeah. Because a long time ago, if I had like a just even like a day like that, and it was probably a lot of water and other things, right? But I would feel like just from one day, I could gain like 5 pounds
Yeah.
if I wasn't careful.
Well,
But
you
it was,
probably did though. Like you said, it's like you go from like restricting yourself all the time to like
yeah,
eating a ton of carbs. You probably did gain 5 pounds. But if you just
yeah.
go right back to what you're doing, it would have come off. It's not
I
fat,
know, but I
right?
didn't know that. Yeah,
Right. Of
yeah.
course not.
No.
What do you do in between though? Because I feel like I just don't bake anymore. I can't, I'm like, no, I don't want to because it's, I don't feel like
Yeah.
like maybe we'll bake one batch of cookies and then it needs to be gone.
I'm
But
not a big
people love like baking in the holidays and stuff and always having stuff around, and that makes it really
yeah.
really hard. How do you not eat it?
Yeah, I don't bake a lot, but the other day I was thinking about baking an apple pie. I made an apple pie. I've never made an apple pie before, but our neighbor, every time I would walk Juliana outside and he would see me and always say hi to me, and then he was always like, "Get some apples," because he has an apple tree out front and he's like, "Get some
Oh,
apples, take some apples." And he would constantly be telling me to get apples, right? And I just was like, "Okay, I'll come back another time. I'm good, whatever." And then one day he gave me a big bag of apples. So he picked them and
really?
gave them to me. So I was like, okay. And he was like telling me how to make a pie or whatever. And he was like, do this and that. And I was like, okay. So then I went home and I found a recipe and I like combined two recipes to make it the way I wanted. Oh my God, it was the best thing. And I don't even know how I did it. And I wish I wrote it down because I don't know. It was the best pie I've ever had and I've never baked before, and I left him like a couple pieces at his doorstep. He thought it was actually his other neighbor who gave it to him. And then later I was like, "Oh, did you get the pie?" And he was like, "Oh, that was you." Anyway, yeah. So I was thinking about making an apple pie again
Well,
this
I
year because
love
we
an
went to
apple
the apple
crumble where it's
orchard.
like pie on the bottom and then the crumble on the top.
It was a Dutch apple
Mm.
pie, so it had
Mm.
it didn't have like a full, it had like crumbles on the top. Yeah,
Mm. So good.
it was so good.
Yeah. It's
So I'm
funny,
going to do that.
so you wouldn't, and I don't know if not taking the apples, but you had that issue recently where your client sent New York bagels to your house, but they accidentally went to the wrong
Yes.
house and you were so
Yeah.
nervous about going and asking for the bagels. And
Yeah.
then it turned out that your client, I guess you told her they got delivered to the wrong place. So she went.
Well, so she messaged me and she's like, "I just got a message. Did you get the bagels?" And I was like, I went outside. I'm like, "I didn't see anything." And I'm like, "No, I didn't get them." And then she's like, "Oh, I put 6 instead of 7."
Uh,
And I'm like, "Oh
six,
no."
7. Have you heard of that?
Yeah. I don't
Oh
know what it
my
means, but
God. We don't need to talk about it anymore.
yeah.
It rules my life right now. Continue.
So then I was like, which house is 6? So Wayne and I are looking, and it's, of course, the one neighbor that we've never spoken to. Like, if it was any
Ah,
of the other ones around, we would have, like, went over there.
ah.
We've never spoken to him. And it was also 8 o'clock at night. And we were like, okay, maybe we should just go look to see if it's still outside. And we were about to because we didn't see his car in the driveway. And then he pulled in. And we were like, never mind. But it's like 8:30 at night. So we felt weird, knocking on his door. And then I was trying to convince Wayne, with my logic and whatever. And I'm like, but it doesn't work on me. So why would it work on him? And I'm like, but yeah, Wayne, if we knock though, we're doing him a favor, right? Because I have a feeling he's a good person. And he probably is thinking, whose bagels are these? Who do I give these to? And we are going to be lowering his stress levels by knocking on his door and
Right?
saying, hey, those
They're
are my
mine.
bagels. And but yeah, it was too late. So then in the morning we were like, we'll go in the morning, but he took off like first thing in the morning. It was like Saturday, I think. So she came in the morning. She didn't tell me she was gonna like come at that time, and she left him a note, and then he called, and then he brought him over or whatever. But it was really funny because she called me and she was like, I don't know, I don't remember why exactly she called me. Maybe to tell me she was gonna come in the morning. And at one point she was like, I hope those bagels aren't his. I hope he chokes on them and that kind of thing. And I'm like,
Gosh.
no, wait, no. No. He probably just doesn't know who I
It's not
am or who
his
to give
fault.
them to.
You know it's your fault, right?
Right?
You're hoping that the guy you gave the bagels to chokes on them.
Like, wait, let's not assume.
Yeah.
But he put them in the fridge because and everything, and he just didn't know who to give them to. So yeah,
See? Very nice.
yeah. And she was like, he was actually because she taught, he did call her, and she was like, he was actually a very nice guy, and
Yeah.
whatever.
Do
Yeah,
you no longer wish he chokes on the bagels?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm assuming she doesn't.
That's funny.
By the way, the bagels are so good. So they're New
Oh, I'd
York City
imagine.
bagels, which
I'm going
so
to New
good.
York City in like 2
Oh,
weeks,
get some bagels
bro.
and pizza, man.
I
Uh,
am.
but yeah, they're very good. And she got us 3 dozen of them. So it's not just like
Holy
a
Are you putting them in
package
the
of
freezer?
bagels. Yeah, I had to put them all in the freezer. And then you take them out of the freezer. You have to let them defrost for like 30 minutes
Dang.
and then put them in the oven for 4 minutes. There's no preservatives in them or anything. So you have to do it that way. And
Oh
they
my
taste really
gosh.
good.
I might
Very
have to
good.
bring bagels home.
Yeah.
Dang. But it's totally random, but it made me think of when I'm going to get the kids from school, there's a house that has a pomegranate tree in the front. And I never
Okay.
noticed it. I just coincidentally parked in front of it because sometimes I like to park and walk down instead of I don't get in the line, I walk. And I parked in front of this and I got out of the car and I looked and I was like, holy moly, there's like all these pomegranates and like a lot of them had fallen and were like rotting on the ground and it did not look like they were being picked.
Yeah.
I literally without even questioning it walked up to this guy's door and knocked on the door. Don't know who this person is. And he answered it. I was like, "Hi, so sorry to bother you. Happen to notice you have a pomegranate tree in your front yard. They look like a lot of them are falling. Would you mind if we took one or two?" And he was like, "Oh my god, take as many as you want. Like the birds are getting them. We don't eat them." Like
Yeah.
so I like for multiple days in a row was just parking at this guy's house and just taking pomegranates.
I couldn't imagine knocking on someone's door and saying that.
It did no
Even though
question.
if someone knocked on my door and did that, I'd be like, yes, please take them. That's less on the
Yeah.
ground. You know, like you're doing me a favor. Take them, please. But I couldn't. I can't. No.
Yeah. And then the look,
Yeah.
the look on somebody's face when you can imagine when they're trying to hold back their dog because they're barking because someone's at the door and then the
Uh-huh.
person opens the door and they don't recognize you and they
Yeah.
don't know what you could be doing there and they're
Yeah.
standing there holding their dog looking at you like who the hell are you and why are you knocking on my door?
Yeah.
It's like that and it only lasts for a couple seconds because you're instantly like, "Hi, pomegranate," and they're, "Oh yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely," and everything's fine. But it's like for that briefest moments of time, you're like, "I'm bothering this person," but then it's like it's fine.
Yeah.
It's totally fine because I want your pomegranates more than I'm concerned about possibly
yeah.
being weird.
Right. The thing is, like, who cares what they think? Right? Like, you don't know them.
Logically, right, Laura? Logically,
Logically, but it doesn't matter. Sometimes we are not ruled by logic.
yeah.
On Monday, Juliana's caseworker showed up randomly. She like knocked on the door and I'm like, who's here? Right. And so I answer it and I like open it and at first I'm like taken aback, like, oh, did we,
Oh,
uh-oh, did we have an appointment? I'm so sorry. But apparently, so she emails Wayne back and forth and Wayne said he emailed her, but they never actually set an appointment. So it wasn't like us. She's like, I sent an email. And I'm like, okay. But yeah, it was weird. It was, I don't like
yeah.
that.
It throws you off when people just knock on your door. Used to be the way
Yeah.
we did things, not anymore.
I know. It was fine though. And it was so funny because luckily I cleaned the house for like 3 hours before she got there. So she probably thinks like that's what my house looks like all the time because I wasn't expecting company.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's funny.
Yeah. I was thinking we could talk about some foundational topics that people probably are interested in, but we don't really go into depth on a lot of times because I don't know, we just don't, and because it's not like a lifting class, right? So let's go into some of these foundational topics that are I want to call them basic, but they're not really basic. They have more than basic answer.
Like nuance.
Nuance, yes.
Lots of nuance. And you have a list?
I have a list. Yes.
Let's go.
So the first one is intensity or effort, like RPE, reps in reserve, and specifically with a lot of these, like when it comes to strength and or hypertrophy, because most people, that's one of their goals, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or both. So what is your thoughts on effort or intensity or reps in reserve when it comes to each of those topics, or
Like
each of those categories, I mean?
when it comes to, so are we talking effort versus intensity
No,
versus?
I consider them the same thing.
Oh, okay. I was going to ask you what's the difference.
Yeah.
Okay. And when it comes to hypertrophy, the type of effort.
Hypertrophy or strength. Like, what should people aim for? Like, what should they be doing in their workouts, depending on if their goal is to build muscle or to get stronger?
Well, give me your answer first, and then I'll add on to it.
Okay, so when it comes to building muscle, right? When you're aiming for, like, for your RPE or reps in reserve, you should be getting pretty close to failure. So something like an 8 RPE, or that could also mean leaving 2 reps in reserve. So it means if you do 10 reps of an exercise, you're only going to do 8 at that weight. So that would be a good place to aim for if your goal is to build muscle. You can go to failure for certain exercises, especially ones that are, isolation exercises that aren't as taxing. You can do that every once in a while, or more frequently. I wouldn't do it all the time with like a deadlift or a squat, because it's going to hinder like your next workout. You're going to probably be very sore. Your central nervous system is going to be overloaded, all of that. So it's good to stay in that 8 RPE range for that reason. And then every once in a while, like, go to failure. Now, when it comes
Yeah.
to strength, though, I would actually aim a little bit lower, especially for like the big compound lifts, because you'll be able to do more of them and you'll be able to do more volume. So keeping and it's going to be less taxing. You're going to recover better. And with strength, sometimes it's about lifting heavy weights, but it's also about the speed of the bar and other things. You don't need to, it doesn't seem like you need to get as close to failure for strength as you would for building muscle. So you can leave a couple extra in the tank. Like if I'm squatting really heavy, like if I'm doing like 5 reps of a squat, it's not a weight that I could only do 7 reps with most of the time. Like, it's going to be probably a weight I could do 8 or 9 reps with. And
Yeah.
I'm only going to be doing 5.
Yeah. What do you think about somebody who, though, hasn't really truly reached what their max is? So, for example, like I remember lifting heavy. I'd have a heavy, squat day, for example, every single week. And every single week, I'm trying to beat my new number, which means that I am pretty much going to, you know, max
You
weekly.
probably aren't, though,
Well, because the reps are higher.
because you probably can do more. You're just, because most of the people that are newer don't realize
That's what I'm
how
saying. Yeah, because I reached a threshold where I literally couldn't do it week to week anymore. It was more every other week. I had to change my programming because I'd go in the gym and be like, "Oh my God, I can't. My body won't do it." You know what I
oh,
mean? Like I
so
wasn't recovering I couldn't do a heavy squat day every single week. I had to start doing it every other week because I
when
was
was it?
reaching my actual max of what like that weight was for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's why you don't want to go to failure every time. That's what I was trying
Exactly.
to say.
Right, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like, what about somebody who, so that was a realization that I had, getting to the level was actually really realizing that I was pushing my strength like in this beyond this, like what I could already do, right? I was really starting to max it out. What about somebody who might be listening that is like, oh, okay, I shouldn't really push it that hard, but maybe they still should be because they haven't actually reached that point yet. I guess that's my question.
Yeah, I mean, if you're newer, you're most likely not going to be able to go to failure with a lot of these things already, right? Like especially things that are like a squat and deadlift. You're going to work your way up to there. You're not going to be
Yeah.
there. Something like a bicep curl, you could most
Yeah.
likely. Like a bicep curl, you could go all the way to failure, but you're probably not going to go all the way to failure with a squat. Like, you won't
Right.
know exactly how that feels yet. So if you're newer, I would say the goal is just to do more every week than you did the week
Hmm.
before, and just continue to progressive overload while that's still possible.
Right. And then you reach a point where you actually start to understand, like, okay, I'm really at the point where like I can't get beyond
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
number easily, and I need to start being a little bit more purposeful with my programming.
Yeah, if you're newer, I wouldn't advise like just doing as many reps of a squat as you possibly could.
Yeah.
At a weight. Like, yeah, I would wait. I would just do a little bit more every week and like learning, especially while you're learning the form and all of that. But like I said, like a bicep curl, a lateral raise, something like that, you totally
Mhm.
can try to do more every
Yeah.
week.
Mhm.
I had another thought. Oh, and if you don't know where that is, another thing you can do is where you do a couple sets of an exercise, then the last set, use that same weight and go all the way to failure. And you might find that you can do a lot more than you thought you could.
Right. Right.
So that's always a good strategy.
Definitely. The AMRAP sets. I like those.
Yeah. The other thing, okay, so the next topic is volume, and they kind of go together because with volume, so volume would be, when I think of volume, I'm thinking there's two different definitions of volume. It could be the amount of weight times reps times sets you're doing. That's your total volume. But volume could also be the number of sets total that you're doing. So there's two different ways to think about volume. But when I think about volume and intensity or effort, however you want to categorize it, sometimes I like the word effort better than intensity, because I think sometimes people think intensity means like you're out of breath, you're like,
Mhm.
like a high intensity, like a HIIT workout or something. Um, but they should be like, if I'm doing a program where my intensity is really high and I'm getting closer and closer to failure, then my volume is probably going to be lower because I can't do as much volume. I won't be able to handle as much volume. I won't recover from as much volume. Whereas if my intensity is a little bit lower, I can do more volume. So it's good to kind of switch them up too, so that you get a little bit of both. And some people are respond better to different things. Like there are people that respond really well to high volume with slightly lower intensity, and there's people that respond better to the lower volume with higher intensity. But I think it's a good idea to switch up your program every once in a while, like do programs where you're doing a lot more volume, and then programs where you're doing a lot higher intensity with lower volume.
Hmm. Yeah, I don't the idea of doing a lot of volume means you're in the gym longer,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know? Yeah.
Yeah. But each set isn't like, oh my God, I'm going to die.
Exactly. Right.
Yeah. So you might be able to take shorter breaks in between your exercises too.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you might
Good
not have
point.
to wait for 3 minutes for in between. Like right
Definitely.
now, I'm doing a higher volume program and I'm only resting 2 minutes in between my squats, where normally I'm doing 2 to 5 reps of them for 5 sets. So normally if I'm doing that, I'm going to be resting for like 3 to 4 minutes, and then my workout's going to take forever. So I lowered it to 2 minutes, but I also had to lower my weight to account for that.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
Anything
Agreed.
anything else on volume?
I don't think so.
And the only other thing I would say is that it's funny because when you're newer, you don't need as much volume to progress. But when you're newer, you can also probably handle more volume because your intensity is going to be lower just
Right.
automatically. So if you get more advanced, you need more volume to continue to progress, but you might also not be able to handle as much volume if you're pushing the weights really high. So it's kind of
Exactly.
like this balancing act. But
Yeah.
normally somewhere between like 9 sets per muscle and like 30 sets per muscle. Like there were studies that show that you can go up to 52 sets per muscle and you're still getting more muscle at the 52 sets than you would be at like 30 sets or something, which to me is insane. And this is why studies don't
That's a lot.
always, yeah, right. That's why studies don't always make sense in the real world. Because if you looked at that study, you'd be like, oh, it doesn't matter. We could just do unlimited amount of volume. But if you actually look at the study, they only did legs. I think it was something like quads or something. So they only were doing it on one muscle. If you did that for multiple muscles, you probably wouldn't be able to recover. But if you're only doing it on one muscle, that would make sense that maybe if you did more sets, because 52 sets total for the week isn't really a lot.
52 sets per
52
muscle
sets
or
per
just
muscle.
that's a lot.
What I'm saying is like they just did quads or something in that
Oh,
study.
got it.
So if you were doing that in real life where you're doing a program and you're doing 52 sets per muscle, no way are you going to get the same results as they did in that study. Whereas the more volume you do, the better results you're going to get, because you're training there's all of that like stuff that is going to repair those quads, like all of your stuff, that's very technical term, all of that that's going towards your quads would be going to other muscles too, right? So like you wouldn't be able to recover it the same way. So
Well,
that's why I
10
don't
to
always like
it
studies.
is the whole 10 to 20 sets per muscle is the zone where you can build muscle, right? hypertrophy. Higher end of that for somebody who's more advanced, lower end of that for somebody
Mhm.
who's newer. And 20 sets per muscle is already hard to get.
Yeah. What I, what I would recommend if you are like advanced and you really care about building muscle is to pick one or two
Yeah,
where
you
you're
have to
going to
start
do them in the
periodizing.
20s. Yeah. And then the other ones you're going to maybe do at 12, which you're definitely going to be able to maintain at 12 because to maintain you need like very low volume.
Well, yeah,
So,
the other thing is they say 10 to 20 sets per muscle, but you have to compare that right to like intensity or effort, like you were saying,
yeah.
because you could easily double that and half cut your intensity in half,
Yeah.
right? So it's like those that 10 to 20 has to be, if it's 10 to 20 sets per muscle, it really has to be with a pretty high intensity and effort level, right? I mean, like at 80% across the board, roughly.
Yeah.
Whereas if you lower the intensity, then you could probably, yeah, like you said, get more volume in and get
Hmm.
similar results.
Yeah. In that study, though, they were going like all the way to failure too. I'm like, those people would get injured in real life. There's
That's
no way.
insane.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, that's
Yeah.
crazy. All right, next one.
Next one is reps.
Mm,
Oh, I didn't talk about, did I talk about volume? For strength, it's pretty much the same thing. Okay. Reps.
okay. Reps. What about reps? How many to do?
Yeah.
It
Like
doesn't
rep
matter.
ranges.
It doesn't matter. Um,
Think of like strength and hypertrophy too.
yeah, well, strength you're gonna benefit massively by doing a lower number of reps because that's what strength is. You're trying to get stronger, and so you don't want to do a, I'll see people that are like, I can't do any more than 8 reps of a bench press. How can I get stronger? Like, well, stop doing 8, lower
Yeah.
it down, do 5, and do, so definitely lower reps. But for hypertrophy and muscle growth in particular, because a lot of people, I realize, like a lot of general population people, they care about getting stronger, but only within like a only to a certain amount. A lot of people don't really care that much about pushing strength. A lot of people really just want to be stronger overall and also have muscle definition,
Yeah.
right? So this is where I usually encourage people, like, don't get too wrapped up in like how many reps you do an amount that feels good. And obviously, if you're going to do 20 reps of something, you're going to be standing there for a longer period of time and you're going
Yeah.
to be using a lower weight because you're not going to be able to take a super heavy weight and do it 20 times. Or if you trade that heavy one for like a 10 pound, you'll be able to do it 20 times.
Yeah.
So it's a balance of trying to find, like, how long do you want to be standing there? How heavy of a weight do you want to use? I usually recommend somewhere in the 6 to 10 rep range, I think is reasonable for most people, using a slightly heavier weight if you're going to do the lower end of that, slightly lighter weight if you're going to the higher end of that. But as long as you're working close to failure, no matter how many reps you're doing, that's what's going to matter for muscle growth.
Definitely. I I like 6 to 8 is my favorite rep range, I think, for most exercises. Is like it's
Yeah.
like enough where I'm getting some strength, but it also I don't have that where when you do like 12 reps of a squat, I don't have that feeling.
Yeah.
I don't want that feeling. But I think it's a good idea to mix it up and not just do the same thing every time. And different exercises will work better with different rep ranges. Like a deadlift is just going to be better in the lower rep
Yeah.
ranges. Squat, you can do it at all different ones, but it's one that will work really well at lower rep ranges, where something like a lateral raise is going to work better at higher rep ranges. So it depends on the exercise too. And also, like if you're going to do 20 reps of a squat, it's also going to be way more fatiguing than it would be if you were going to do less. But if you do less, it's harder on your joints if you do that consistently. So I think it's always good to
Oh,
just
yeah.
mix it up.
Definitely mixed up.
The other benefit of adding in low reps, I know you said like most people don't necessarily always want to get stronger, or they just want like
Well
they don't,
rounded.
yeah,
Yeah.
well rounded. I still think it's good to mix in the lower reps because strength in the long run will help with muscle building. Because if you like say you do like, I don't know, if like you bench press for example, if you can't up your reps anymore, the easiest thing to do is going to be to lower the weight, which is going to help you build that strength so that when you go back up to, or go lower the weight back to what you're only doing 8 reps with, you most likely can do more reps with it. So it's going to help with progressive overload if you lower the reps every once in a while so that you can get stronger a little easier. Does that
Yeah.
make sense? I feel like I'm all over
Yeah.
the place. Does that make
No, that
sense?
definitely makes sense. Yes.
Okay.
Like you're going to, yeah, in order to see any kind of progress, you're going to want to like go lower. It goes back to like mixing it up
And
and
mixing it
making
up.
sure.
Yeah, mix it up.
And the other thing that I'm thinking about too is especially when it comes to like hypertrophy, the only reps, no matter how many you do, whether you're doing 30 or you're doing 5, the
Mm-hmm.
only reps that actually help grow the muscle are the last 2 to
Yeah.
4. The
Yeah.
last 2 to 4 reps, whether you're doing 30, the last 2 to 4 of those 30, or whether you're doing 5 and it's literally like the second rep through the end of the set, are the
Yeah.
only ones that are actually making a difference. Everything else before then is, oh, you call it junk volume, you can just like building up to whatever. Those are the ones where your muscles actually taxed and now we're like pushing it in that range, right? So if you're going to do 30 reps of something and the last 2 to 4 puts you in that failure zone where you feel like your muscles like not really, then why stand there and do the other 15?
Yeah.
Right? So it's like trying to think of it kind of logically.
Yeah. I agree. I think there's different. I mean, you got the muscular endurance, right? So you're going to train a different. I know you've said before you don't care about muscular endurance.
I mean, of course it matters, but
And then also like not that it matters a ton, but you also get like a really big pump when you do more
yeah,
reps,
that's
and
true.
some people like that. But
Yeah.
yeah, I agree. Like for the most part, I'm going to do like 6 to 10 reps for most exercises, because maybe to 12, 6 to 12, somewhere in that
Yeah.
range. Yeah.
Yeah. I like to use lighter weights for like a lateral raise.
Yes.
Like I can do heavier reps,
It
but
doesn't feel right.
it doesn't feel right. I'm not feeling that muscle as much. When I'm
Yeah.
using the lighter weight, I can make sure that every single rep I'm bringing up smoothly, I'm holding it, I'm contracting that muscle and I'm releasing.
Hmm.
And then I get a little bit I'll go up to like 15 reps because I can really feel the muscle. Whereas if I only go like 6 reps on a lateral raise, I don't feel it as much.
I agree. Yeah.
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 So I
Totally
think
agree.
it depends on the muscle and it depends on you and yeah, but there's no right answer. There's lots of ranges that you
Yeah.
could be. But I will say that a program or a workout that's like 10 to 12 for every single exercise, it's really shallowly designed. You know what I mean? Like there
Hmm.
should definitely be a variety of rep ranges that you're hitting within a single workout.
Definitely. The only time I really do that is like for a beginner, like I know for their first like program, it might be something like that where you're doing
Yeah,
8 to 10 of most things. But yeah,
sure.
just to get you used to the movements.
Sure.
Uh, all right, tempo.
Tempo is not as important as we used to think it was in terms of
Hmm.
actually building muscle, but I still put a lot of value in tempo in terms of just helping the individual person slow down, understand the mechanics of what they're doing, not lose form. No, mind muscle connection is much better when you tempo things. And when I say tempo, I'm really just talking about a solid. I usually like on the eccentric portion when you're lowering the weight, whether you're lowering down into a squat or you're releasing the bicep curl, like slowing that down a little bit more, maybe even just like a 3 second, 1, 2, 3. And then I like the concentric portion, so the power when you're coming out of a squat or when you're curling that bicep curl. I like that to be a little bit more powerful. I don't usually tell people to tempo that. I'm like, no, this is the power portion. This is where you want to push and see how fast you can move that weight. You know what
Hmm.
I mean? But then slow it down on the way. Um, so yeah, but that's pretty basic tempo. Or
Yeah.
sometimes adding pauses,
Yeah.
but it
Yeah.
doesn't
You
need to
can,
be like this
you,
insane 5 second, 5 second, 5 second
no,
everything, right?
no. Yeah, I think people, yeah, we used to think that tempo mattered more than it did. And it was all about time and retention. And now you realize it doesn't really. But I don't, yeah, I think it's also gone like the other direction. In some ways, it's gone too far in the other direction where it's like tempo doesn't matter at all for some people, like because yeah, it doesn't. So I disagree with that. So it's somewhere, yeah, you can still use it as a tool, like you said. Like if I have a brand new person, I don't want them flying through the movements. You're going to learn the form a lot better if you slow it down and control it. And you're also going to, I feel like you're going to teach your body to, I mean, I noticed this when remember I was just saying I was doing slow eccentrics, and every time I feel stronger afterwards. I just feel like I have more stability and control when after I've done that. I feel like I can, like, handle more weight. Like my body is like ready for it. I don't know why, but it just feels like I just feel more safe under heavier weights after I've done something like that. Like it's like I've learned control. Like I feel like it really helps you with that, intermuscular coordination, getting all your neurons to work together.
One of the things I think about, it's not necessarily tempo, but when it comes to strength, there's studies that show that sticking point, like where the bar, you're at the bottom of the bench press and then you come up and you can't get the bar up and it's like halfway and you're pushing and you're pushing and you're pushing and sometimes you fail and sometimes you get through it and you push up. That sticking point is like highly responsible for your body's like response and how your body adapts for the next time, to the point where there are studies that test just the sticking point. So they'll have them push against something that's not going to move, right? So push against a wall or somebody, or it's a barbell that has a ridiculous amount of weight on it, and you have people that help get it up, and you're just pushing, trying to get it to go up, and then those people help you re-rack it. Like
Mm-hmm.
studies where you're just pushing against the immovable force, for like 3 to 5 full seconds, and the insane jumps in strength for the next 3 to 4 weeks following that, and then I think it kind of tapered off. But if you train that way, specifically when you're trying to get through like certain, get beyond certain strength goals or get beyond certain maxes, like just training that way for just like a week or two, even in
Yeah.
your programming, just pushing against that immovable force. So that's
Mm-hmm.
interesting. It's not necessarily tempo because you're not slowing it down on purpose, but it is kind of like I'm
Yeah.
thinking about it when I'm
It's
doing like,
similar.
it is similar. It's almost like a
It's
pause in a
it's a
way.
pause. It's like similar to pausing at the bottom of a squat because you're still under tension down there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you have to. Yeah, I've done that when I did the triphasic training, right? So
Mm-hmm.
the second phase of that was like I would bench and I would put the safeties up and I couldn't like get it up any like I'm pushing against it and it's not
Right.
moving. Or same thing with like a row, I pull up and it's not going anywhere. Or a squat, I don't think I did it with squat. It was a Bulgarian split squat and I had it below me and did it. Yeah.
Ah, interesting. Had what
Yeah.
below you?
Like the bar, I'm holding onto the bar below me because I think it would hurt my shoulders going up.
Ah,
So I'm pulling, like I'm pushing with my legs and holding onto the bar, and I'm not going anywhere because it's
yeah.
against the safeties, that kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's also really good. Tempo can be used for athletic, like people
Mm-hmm.
who are trying to, play sports and that kind of thing because, um, but like when you slow down the tempo or you do those pauses, it can help you with deceleration and stuff like that. So
Mm-hmm.
you're less
Mm-hmm.
likely to get injuries and, help your performance.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Agreed.
All right. Last one. And this one's in a different
Really
direction.
tired today. Yeah. Okay. Just realize it now because I keep yawning.
This one's not with strength and hypertrophy, but types of cardio, their uses, who they're best for, all of that
Mm.
stuff. Talking
Yeah.
about cardio.
Yeah. I like types of cardio. How would you classify them?
Like, so if you were going to do zone 2 cardio, I would even consider walking a form of cardio, right? Because it's zone 1, I guess, cardio. Um, and then, like high intensity cardio and intervals and sprint training and anything like
Mm-hmm.
that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, to even classify, how many heart rate zones are there? Is it 5 or 6? 5?
I was going to say 5. I don't know if
I think
there's
there's
6.
5.
Yeah.
So even like, the term zone 2 cardio gets tossed around a lot, but I don't think people even understand sometimes like what does that mean? Like every cardiovascular effort is in a zone because it's a heart rate zone.
Mm-hmm.
So when people are talking about zone 2, it means it's a slightly higher effort than a casual walk, but not enough that you're having trouble holding a conversation, right? But even that is going to depend on the person. Like some people who are very unconditioned or maybe they're very heavy or maybe like could be in zone 2 by walking,
Mm-hmm.
right? And some people who are pretty well conditioned can jog and be in zone 2. So it really kind of just depends on your individual, conditioning and et cetera, lots of factors that determine that. But for most people, zone 2 is going to be like a brisk walk or maybe a light jog where you can still hold a conversation without being completely out of breath. And that cardio, I think, is not any underrated anymore because it's so talked about. It's
Yeah.
definitely underrated in terms of cardiovascular health, because you can intake it. It's a good way to completely fill your lungs with oxygen and help your body, like, utilize the oxygen, blood oxygen levels. So it's really good for that without being so out of breath that you're actually not using the oxygen efficiently, because sometimes when we start breathing heavier and more shallow, we're not taking in those full breaths of air. So in terms of just being able to fully utilize the oxygen, zone 2 is really great for that and can really help in like actually improving endurance, even if you're not doing endurance training, or actually improving VO2 max, even if you're not like doing VO2 max training. Those zone 2 efforts can actually really help in that because you're taking those full breaths of air. But the zone 5, or maybe even like upper zone 4 cardio, which is more like your high intensity intervals, those are phenomenal in terms of maintaining muscle and improving VO2 max. So those are really great as well. And everything in the middle, I would say, like zones, zone 3 and 4. So this is kind of just like this is like the cardio where I feel like a lot of people do it because they feel like they need to get tired and sweaty, but
Yeah.
they're not necessarily doing it with a purpose. So I don't mind doing. It's not that this type of cardio is bad by any means, because it's cardiovascular and that's good, but it's not necessarily adaptive. Right. So when you go up into the higher heart rate zones, it's kind of like strength training. You're pushing your maxes and you're forcing your body to adapt. Whereas if you're just strength training in a zone that you can already do, it's not that it's bad. You're working the muscles and you're doing stuff, but you're not necessarily pushing your body to adapt. So those kind of cardio where your heart rate's up and you're sweaty and you feel like you're working hard, I like those in terms of just maintaining fitness, or just because you enjoy the activity that you're doing and it just happens to put your heart rate in that zone. But in terms of like if you're actually trying to create some sort of result or adaptation, I usually encourage people to be a little bit more smart with what cardio they select and for what purpose it is. Right. Because if you're looking to build muscle and if you're looking to lose body fat and if you're looking to like be fitter overall, consistently doing like higher intensity but not super high intensity cardio might
Hmm.
actually have the reverse effect.
So which cardio would you recommend for a beginner? Like what would you recommend for them?
Well, it depends on how beginner we're talking about. Because beginner strength training doesn't necessarily mean beginner in terms of like your ability to do cardio, right? But for most
Yeah.
people, I would say I recommend some form of higher intensity interval training, like once or twice a week. And some people are going to struggle with that. So, some people, depending on a variety of factors, whether it's conditioning or joints or age, might have a hard time pushing the actual maxes for high intensity intervals. But I usually recommend trying to figure out a way to get, even if it's like an elliptical, you can push to try to get the heart rate to go up for like 30 to 45 seconds and then bring it back down for a full 2 to 3 minutes. I prefer, because that's very adaptive and it's very muscle sparing and very useful, and it's very, very good for time constraints. You can get it done in 20 to 30 minutes. So I usually recommend that for like 1 to 3 times a week. And then other than that, like a lot of like zone 2 stuff, going for walks, light jogs, stuff like that, like 2 to 4 times there's really no upper limit of this. You
Yeah.
could do as much zone 2 as you want, and usually people can get in their 10,000 steps a day via these two avenues. But zone
Yeah.
2, like, that's usually
Yeah.
my, and walking is
I would say for
probably
most
more
people it's
zone
zone
1. But
one. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. If you're like somebody who's getting 3,000 steps a day, I wouldn't even worry about cardio until you were getting up to 8,000 steps
I
a day.
agree
Like
with
that
that.
would be your
Yeah,
first
start
goal.
walking.
Start walking.
Right.
That's going to be the most beneficial thing for you. And then because I don't think it's really, I mean, it's not that it's not worth it to do like high intensity interval training, but then only get 3,000 steps a day. It still would be something, but I think it would be
More
better,
beneficial.
yeah, more beneficial to get to the 8,000 steps. And then once you're there, then you can add on to the cardio. And I agree with everything you said. It's funny because I feel like I'm different. I don't know, maybe I'm not different, but I'm different than whatever the recommendation is that they say, right? Because most of the time, they'll if you're going to do like hit training, it's once or twice a week. but a lot of times they recommend zone 2 because you could do it more often and it's
Mm-hmm.
less stressful and you can do more of it and whatever. So it's really less stressful for most people's bodies and good for your heart and all that stuff, right? And I don't find that at all. Like I find that the longer duration things are actually more stressful for me than doing things in a shorter duration at a higher intensity. Like I would rather get my heart rate up really high a couple times, and then be done than do like a 30-minute jog. Like just the other week I did. I started. I'm always trying to because I want to get my endurance up, but I want to get better. But every time I do, I swear, every single time, it will trigger like my fibro symptoms. I don't know if that's what it is, but whatever. It'll make me feel like everything hurts. My whole body will hurt, and I have all the symptoms come out at once. I'll get really tired, and like this weekend, it happened, and it was extremely like it was a bad one, right? And it was because I've been trying to do some cardio and adding cardio. It's like every time I do that, my
What?
body says no,
What kind
right?
of
But
cardio are you doing?
I was just jogging for like 30 minutes, not very
Wow.
fast. And I was checking my heart rate to make sure I was like in zone 2. I wasn't going too high or anything like that. And it's funny because old me, like, I would be so out of breath and dying, at that, pace I was going at. But I was fine. Like I didn't feel that way. So it didn't feel like I was stressing myself out, but my body does not like it.
Yeah, well, that obviously individual variance.
Yeah, individual variants.
And
Whereas I could do like hit and
the
it's fine.
obviously doing hit and doing strength training has improved your endurance because when you go for that 30-minute jog, you don't feel super out of breath, right?
Yeah, and I wonder if because I feel okay, so with strength training, I feel like lower reps, heavier weights have a much better carryover to lighter weights than if I was going to do lighter weights to heavier weights. Does that make sense? So like
Yeah.
if I raise my 5 rep max on something, I feel like that's going to have a lot more carryover to my 8 rep max. Whereas if I improve my like 15 rep max, it's going to have like
Yeah.
no
Yeah.
carryover to my 8 or well, maybe a little bit to the 8, but like none to my 5 rep
Right.
max. It's going to
Yeah,
have
for
very
sure.
small. And I wonder if cardio is the same way. Like I feel like it is. Like if I do high intensity stuff, it has a lot of carryover to zone 2.
Yes.
But if I do zone 2, it doesn't really have a lot of carryover. I don't think it does because I've heard stories of people say that they had these like marathon runners and then they put them through a workout and they're like dying after a couple of minutes because they're doing things at a much higher intensity. So I feel like that it works similar in that way. So by just doing the hit, you're probably going to get some zone 2 benefits.
I mean, I think so because VO2 max is best trained in high intensity intervals. And your VO2 max is like the measurement of the maximum amount of oxygen that you can consume and use during exercise, right? So
Yeah.
if that's true, if you can best train your VO2 max through high intensity intervals, and that is helping, the amount of oxygen that you can use, and theoretically, you
Mhm.
should then be able to, even if you never jog, you jog
Yeah.
once on January 1st and then jog once 6 months later. If you've been doing hit in the middle of all of that, you're going to be able to jog
Yeah.
more because you can utilize oxygen better.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah. And
definitely think that that's true.
I think just like the sprints I do and that kind of stuff has had some
Yeah.
carryover.
But what
Yeah.
did you say about taking marathon runners and putting them?
So I've heard people say that they've like coached people who were like, oh, they've run marathons or
Yeah.
whatever, and then they put them through like a normal, like just even like I just heard Joe DeFranco say this the one day on his podcast, and he was like somebody who would run like ridiculous lengths of marathons, like she was a world record holder or something and something. So he put her through, and this is when he was like a newer coach. He said he put her through a workout and he's like we were only doing the warm-up, we didn't get into the actual workout yet, and she was just dying like 2 minutes into the warm-up. Her hands were on her legs and she's like out of breath and exhausted because it was more high intense things and it
Yeah.
wasn't just like the slow pace jog. And yeah, it didn't have any carryover basically
Right.
to the higher intensity things.
Right. So that's exactly what you said. Doing lower intensity all the time didn't have carryover to the higher intensity. But if you
Yes,
do higher intensity, it will have it carry over to the lower intensity.
I believe so.
And it's interesting too, because there was a study recently, and I can't quote because I can't find it, so I might misquote it. But I'm not going to even try to quote it. I'm just going to summarize. Basically, that they took marathon runners, and usually you would think that if you're running a marathon and you're training for a marathon, then most of the time you're training for the marathon should be like running as long and far as possible. And that's what
Hmm.
like most people do. And of course they'll have runs that are shorter because you can't do that all of the time. And you do like
Yeah.
your long runs on the weekends and stuff like that, which isn't necessarily a bad way to train. But they found when they actually polarized the training a little bit. Instead of constantly just doing runs at different lengths, they polarized it more, and they had people either doing that style or high intensity intervals mixed with zone 2. And those people performed better when they were running the marathon
Makes sense.
because they're not exhausting that same
Yeah.
pathway, right? And then they're also doing the polarized where they're really focusing on VO2 max in the high intensity, and then in the more zone 2, like lower intensity, they're focusing on their ability to expand the lungs and take in as much oxygen as possible. And when you compare those two things, or when we combine, not compare, when you combine those two things, it actually
You're like well
results in a better
rounded and you're
performance.
able
Yeah,
to, yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, it makes
Exactly.
sense because you're training two different things.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, even I had a marathon runner who ran all the time as a client, and she wanted to get stronger, but she didn't want to stop running. She was so obsessed with running. And I had to wean her off the constant running, right? We didn't just go from like running all the time to no running, but we got her strength training 3 times a week, heavy lifts, really started increasing the weight that she was doing. And she was just gradually having less and less time to run. So we were doing like light jogs 2 days a week, longer run on the weekends. But through this like training of pulling back running and then adding some high intensity intervals and plyometrics and strength training, and then she increased her time on her marathon runs, even though she was nervous going into the one. I'm not running as much as I normally do pre-marathon, but she ended up
Hmm.
beating her own times consistently for like multiple years by
Yeah, it makes
having like a
sense.
more, like a
I,
smarter approach.
I would assume also just building muscle in general does that. Like we've
Mm-hmm.
said before,
Mm-hmm.
strength has carryover to basically everything else because if your muscles are
Definitely.
stronger, they're going to be able to, each step is going to take less energy because your muscles are stronger.
Right.
So it's going to require less. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
going to help with everything.
Yeah. Awesome. You got any more?
That's it.
Cool. Good topics. Good
Yeah.
pod. Let's round it up.
All right.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a comment, 5-star review, and we will see you next week.
Bye.